Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD Talks NASCAR. On this episode, I'm going to recap the Phoenix race that was yesterday. As you all know, this season I've been recording right after races, usually on Sunday night, so it's available for you all on Monday. This week, had some problems. My headphones were dead unknowingly until I went to plug them in. So you get a Monday edition, still just as good, but Monday edition instead of Sunday night. And before I get started into the breakdown, and I'll probably get a little bit emotional saying this, but I received an email from Spotify and Spotify for podcasters that, this has been a little while back, but I never check my email to look and see. But I can't thank you all enough. The email said that JD Talks NASCAR has now reached over 1,000 streams, and that's incredible to me. I know your huge podcasts get over that per episode, and that's the eventual goal here. But beginning not even a year ago, actually not even a half year ago, I don't think. I'd have to go back and look, but it don't seem like I've been doing this for a year. But um, over 1,000. I don't have the exact number, but all it said was that JD Talks NASCAR had eclipsed the 1K mark, and that's. I didn't think 10 people. I didn't think this would get 10 streams when I first started. I started it just for fun. I feel like it's got a lot better since I first started. Getting used to everything, adding new stuff, interacting with the audience. You all have been amazing. It all goes back to you all for listening to this weekly. Every episode I put up, I know a lot of you all listen to every single episode, so I can't thank you all enough for that. This is a huge first step into growing, and if you hear some background noise, my youngest son's YouTube is playing in the background as he waves. He's waving. But back to the emotional stuff, man. 1,000, over 1,000 streams. Um, I can't thank you all enough. You all have been with me, a lot of you from day one, and to the new listeners that listen now every episode, thank you all so much. I hope we continue to grow. I hope this is just a stepping stone. I think it will be. It's definitely a good start. Definitely more than I ever thought that would be possible. But at the same time, I know there's a ton of room still left to grow. If we could just get someone huge to get a hold of this and share it, that's the number one goal. I think I listen to a lot of NASCAR podcasts, and I think here on JD Talks NASCAR, I give as much info and break down as much as anybody, to be honest with you. So I'm hoping for that. But thank you all once again. Like I said, I didn't think 10 people would want to listen to me talk about anything. And you all have well documented that you enjoy this. I enjoy doing it. So we'll just keep on keeping on. It's a huge number, but I just wanted to say that before we got into the actual episode. I was so excited when I got that email. I thought it was coming for a while now, to be honest with you. Just seeing the numbers per episode, I knew it had to be coming up soon, and we're there. So thank you all for that. And like I said, let's just hope this is the beginning. If I could start getting that per episode, will be very, very nice. So thank you all once again to the JD Talks NASCAR audience. Really appreciate every single one of y'all. Now let's get into the Phoenix recap. Enough of the sappy stuff. Let's get into what actually happened yesterday at the race. First thing, very early. Seems like every race this year has had an early caution. Very early, Derek Kraus, who is in the 16 Kaulig car for a couple races this year, gets loose and collects Austin Cindric and Austin Dillon. And Cedric has had a all right start to the year. Definitely better than last year. Last year was terrible for him. But Austin Dillon, my goodness, just a terrible, terrible start to his season. I think 3 of the first 4 races he's been collected in the first caution of the race, and they've all been within 10 laps of the start. So very bummer of a year for him so far. But the thing is with RCR, they have the speed. They have the speed to continue. Uh, he could bounce back if he could stay out of trouble. I think it all goes back to his qualifying efforts. They've been slow in qualifying, and when you start in the back, you never know what's going to happen. So, hate it for that 3 team. I don't really have anything against Austin Dillon. I know he takes a lot of flack for being fed on a silver spoon, as Kevin Harvick said back in the day. But he's won races. He's fine. He's perfectly acceptable in my opinion. But hate to see anyone start as bad as he has this year. So hopefully he can get bounce back for that 3 team. Tyler Reddick wins the first stage. Reddick looked very strong early. And then as the track changed, he kind of faded back a little bit and got back in traffic. But the first stage looked very solid. Ty Gibbs brought home second in that stage. Denny Hamlin third. Ty Gibbs, I'm telling you all right now, and you all will know this by the end of the episode because a little foreshadowing on my pick for this week's race. But Ty Gibbs is going to victory lane, folks. And I think it's going to be this season. Just be ready for it. He is that good. He's that quick every week. He's shown that team's shown even more speed than they had at the end of last year. They're very solid. I would not be surprised at all. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and make it. And I called it at the beginning of the year too. He was in my playoffs as a race winner. I think Ty Gibbs goes to victory lane this season for sure. Denny, he got the pole and looked very fast, but then it seemed like his car didn't fire off all day very good on the restart. He would lose track position. He would usually lose 1 or 2 spots every restart. His car just did not fire off the way he needed to, but definitely had a fast car. That 11 team did. They did a very good job. That was the fastest Phoenix car that they've had in a long time. Denny usually struggles at Phoenix. They obviously put an emphasis on Phoenix since it's going to be the championship race later in the year. But huge gains for that 11 team. If they can make the Final Four, I'll look out for Denny for sure. And then, of course, you have the first pit box. And I noticed this on the first stop that it was going to be huge. It all day long. I mean, Denny, where he got the pole, got that first pit box, and they were saying on the broadcast that it's the most advantageous pit box in the sport. And I believe that because Denny came in. I mean, he would come in anywhere from 4th to 5th and come out first by a large margin. I thought Charlotte last year it reminded me of Charlotte last year with William Byron. He would come in 4th or 5th and then come out with the lead every time. I mean, you got to have a good fast pit crew too, but I mean, Denny's crew was rattling off 9-second stops, sub 9-second stops, but the timing line is so close to that first pit stall that he doesn't have hardly anywhere to. I mean, he doesn't have to hardly go anywhere to cross that line. So it's very, very good for the 11 team, and whoever gets that first pit box in November championship race, watch out. They're going to be hard to beat. So we'll see. But I want to touch on how advantageous that first pit stall was. I thought that was a huge deal all day. I honestly thought it was going to win Denny the race. I didn't think he had the best car, but I thought that it would come down to about 10 to go and someone would wreck, and then they'd all pit, and he'd come out first. But that's not what happened. So, first stops of the day: Carson Hocevar and Kyle Larson, both pit road issues. Kyle Larson had an issue with the right rear. I forget what they say Hocevar's was. It was something similar, but these right rear lug nut issues are something that I think I'd be worried about if I was a pit crew. I feel like it's going to cost somebody big. I mean, it cost Bubba Wallace last week. Larson was all right yesterday, but never really had the track position even before the penalty. But, lug nuts not coming off of the tires is very strange. It only happened like once last year that I can remember jumping right off. Uh, that's in my mind, but it's happened several times already in the short beginning of the season. So very strange, but it's like the lug nuts. They get too tight and then they won't come off the wheel. So that I feel like that's very concerning for the teams. I feel like the I mean, I don't know what you do. I'm no pit road expert. I'm no mechanic, but you have to have the lug nut so tight so it'll stay on. But then it's so tight that they can't get it off, and then you're stuck on the same right rear tire. It's definitely an issue for sure. But they ended up getting it off of both cars, which it cost Bubba like 6 or 7 laps last week. So definitely an issue for these teams. And then once again, during the second round of stops, which is green flag pit stops, Ty Gibbs had an issue on the right rear. Toyotas, that just registered in my mind. Larson is a Chevy, but Bubba, the 54, both Toyotas that have had issues with the right rear this season. Which Gibbs was so fast that it ended up not mattering for him. I mean, it did matter, but he got his spots back. And then Christopher Bell wins the second stage. Um, I mean, Seabell had the best long run car of the day, no doubt in my mind. You could see that just watching the race. He was very quick on the long run. I don't know if he did a better job saving tire. I don't know if the car just came to him the longer the run went. But they found something in that 20 car. Adam Stevens and his crew did a phenomenal job with Seabell and his car. Of course, Seabell did a great job too driving it. But anytime a long run came, you knew the 20 was coming. He had pit road issues after that second stage, after the stage win. He has right rear issues. So another Toyota. I don't know if it's something off with the setups or what. I don't even know how that works. But I do find it strange that a lot of the Toyotas are the ones having the issues. But I think he got knocked back to like 10th on the next restart. But you'll see, didn't really end up mattering too much for Seabell. Kyle Busch struggled all day long, and that brings me to my next point. I was really shocked with the struggles of the 8 team. Kyle Busch is normally very solid at Phoenix. And as you know, they qualified terrible. Austin Dillon qualified terrible. Was very shocked with RCR's results in Phoenix. But Kyle Busch self-spins. Not too much damage, if any. But self-spin, and he was already a lap down at that point. Just not a very good day for the 8 team. The wild restart after that, Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain got into each other. Ross up into the fence. And, a couple laps later, I think it was because of the restart, John Hunter gets into Joey Logano, just completely spins him, which then knocks Joey into Corey LaJoie, Derek Kraus, and Josh Berry. Joey Logano said after the race something to the effect of, he didn't lift early. John Hunter just ran into the back of him. John Hunter says that Joey did lift early. I'm not sure who is right in this scenario, but just looking at it from afar, it did look like John Hunter dumped him, to be honest with you. And I'm not a Joey fan by any means, but when you see a guy get just completely ran over like John Hunter seemed to do to Joey, you gotta look at that level-headed and not be biased towards it. I think that it looked like to me that Logano just got completely ran over. Granted, before that, he did not have the speed that I thought that the team thought he would have. But just a bad day for Logano as well. Ended up ending Corey LaJoie's day, which ended his streak. He had the longest streak in Cup with most finishes without a DNF, most starts without a DNF. And that ended yesterday as the damage was enough to end Corey's day. And then the worst part of the race for me, of course, Denny and Tyler Reddick battling for the lead. Denny just looked like he got in too deep, honestly. Looked like he sent it in way too deep. But then also, it looked like he gathered it up and the car just snapped on him. I'm not sure if he was already loose trying to get it wound up or what happened, but it looked like the car just snapped right on him and ended up taking himself out. Luckily, didn't take Reddick out. That would have been a huge deal. But just a self-inflicted wound for the 11. Hated to see that. Denny said after the race it was completely 100% his fault. And I agree. I mean, it sucks. It really does. I really had high hopes, especially the pole effort. I was like, oh my gosh, they're finally quick in Phoenix. He was still up there all day long in the top three. No doubt in my mind had a top three car, but just couldn't bring it home after that self spin. He ends up coming in 11th. But I thought that was a big point in the race because it flipped things. It flipped the strategy of some drivers that were they had just pitted, didn't come in, and they were able to keep their track position and finish the race well. But it was a bigger deal than just Denny self spinning. After the restart after the spin, Bubba Wallace and Eric Jones get into it. I hated to see this for Eric Jones because he had a solid run going. He was running top 5. Heck, he was even battling for the lead at the beginning of the race. And, just definitely a bad ending to what looked like a promising day for the 43 team. But I mean, I don't place the blame on anybody. Restarts at Phoenix, as you saw yesterday, they got up to like 6 wide at one point, and they get crazy. It was bunched up. I think Bubba just got loose and got up into him. There was nothing there intentional at all. Just got loose, and then Jones gets into the wall. I think he bent a toe link. I don't think he broke it, but I think it was bent because after that you saw Jones get lapped several times. And then after that, that one didn't even breed a caution. They didn't throw a caution for it. And the race ends on a long run, and Christopher Bell pulls away. Like I said, the long run speed of the 20 was huge, especially with the race ending on a long run. Christopher Bell brings it home for Joe Gibbs Racing, their first win of the season, and first win for him this year. I expect a big year out of him. I said that at the beginning. Thought he was poised for a multiple win season, and he's already got one. So it's definitely I love the way that the 20 team's clicking right now. I think they've done a great job. Joe Gibbs Racing's fast. Ty Gibbs made it all the way back up to third after his pit road issues. So I'm pleased as a Joe Gibbs Racing fan. I'm pleased with the way they're running. Now some of the guys that benefited from this strategy play when Denny wrecked, Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Ross Chastain, Michael McDowell, Chase Briscoe, all those guys were nowhere to be seen for most of the race. I mean, they ran like top 15, top 20, but they were never in contention. And the caution comes out at the right time for them. Buescher brings it home second, Keselowski fourth, Michael McDowell eighth, and Chase Briscoe ninth. So all of them who flipped the strategy end up in the top 10, which is a huge win for those guys. So I thought that was a very important part of the race. Some notable finishers, like I said, Ty Gibbs third. Martin Truex did something interesting. He stayed out super long, had control of the race and was hoping for a caution. Didn't end up getting that caution, so he pits with about, I think it was like 40 to go, and ends up bringing it. He pits, goes a lap down, then unlaps himself and passes all the way back up to 7th. So still a solid finish for Martin Truex Jr. Thought that was impressive. Noah Gragson, man, you can't say enough about him. Just another great run. He's doing great things for Stewart-Haas. He ran top 10 all day long. I had him this week in my little NASCAR group that I have. I had him this week because, I mean, he ran super well in Vegas, finished 6th. And then he backs it up at Phoenix with a 12th place finish. The only bad race he's had is Atlanta so far. So I'm excited. He qualified 7th. I mean, huge qualifying run for that 10 team. Carson Hocevar comes back and finishes 15th after his pit road issues. Todd Gilliland once again leads some laps, ends up finishing 17th. And then we do the notable bad finishes. William Byron, Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman all finished 18th, 19th, and 20th. Huge shock to me. Byron was my pick to win this race. And I don't know what happened to the speed of Hendrick cars this week. They usually dominate Phoenix. And that was my prediction. I thought they were. I picked Larson. I picked Byron to win. I thought Larson would run better. He finished 14th. We touched on Kyle Busch, 22nd. Eric Jones ends up bringing it home 31st after a solid run, and Joey Logano 34th. So, not the greatest days for those guys. I was very shocked about Hendrick, though. I don't know what went on there. If you think they're going to come back in November and be that slow, I don't believe that for a second. They'll definitely make some tweaks and try to figure out what's going on there. But, as you all know, I'm not a huge Phoenix fan. With that being said, I thought yesterday's race was the best Phoenix race I've saw in a while. I might be in the minority, but I honestly think that there was passing for most of the race as the runs went on. They were still passing. So there's only going to be so much you could do with this car at these type of tracks. And I thought for what it was definitely better than any Phoenix race I've seen in a long time. So once again, I think this, I saw Jeff Gluck's poll when I voted on it. I voted yes that it was a good race. It's currently sitting at 59% no. So obviously I'm in the minority, but I thought it was solid. I'm not going to act like it was a 10 out of 10 race. Speaking of 10 out of 10, thank you all for rating and answering the questions. I got some last week's race. Now that we're talking about the rating scale, I saw some. I think the highest score was 8. I saw some 7s. I think I put 7. Maybe I put 8. I'm not sure. Either way, I thought it was decent. But lowest I saw was a 5. Someone thought a 5. I did not see that at all. I was very shocked when I saw a 5 for last week's race. I thought it was pretty good. But this week, I'll go a 6, which is good for Phoenix standards, if you're being honest. If I'm being honest with you, I expected a 3 to a 4, just because the race in there, the restarts are awesome when they fan out, but other than that, man, it's just not a championship race track. If you're a new fan coming into this sport, which I did see one on Twitter yesterday say, wait, this is the championship track. They come back to this in November and race for a title at this track. And I agree with that sentiment. It's not a championship track. Granted, was the racing better yesterday? Absolutely. I definitely think so. But it's not the championship-worthy track, and I don't think that's changing. I don't think that it's going to become a championship-worthy track. And that gets me to the next point. Jordan Bianchi, the Athletic, was very confident in saying that he thinks that the championship race moves back to Homestead in 2025. And all I can say is amen, if that is true. Jordan usually don't miss when he breaks stories, so I'm confident that he's got it right. And, I've been calling for that since I started this podcast. And I called for it before I started to other NASCAR fans in general, but I think it belongs back at Homestead. I think it's a way better track, and let's just get Phoenix out of the championship. I'm still all for that, even with the decent race in last week. But you all let me know what you all think. Thank you all for your responses last week, and I'll attach the Q&A to the Spotify episode on this episode. So the question will be, what do you rate 1 out of 10 this week's race at Phoenix? My answer is a 6. So you all let me know yours. I would still say a good race. Not great, but decent. Now on to Bristol. My favorite track on the circuit, without a doubt. The only bad thing about it is now is they moved it up. I hate that. If they moved it up, I wish they would have traded it with Phoenix. I wish Bristol would have been this week, Phoenix next week. That doesn't make much sense with the West Coast swing, so they had to fit it in where they do. But Selection Sunday in college basketball is my favorite day of the year. So hate that I'm going to miss some of this race. I'll go back and watch it so we can break it down on the podcast. But as far as watching live, I'm not going to make very much. I mean, I'll watch the first part of it until the selection show starts. But once the selection show starts, I'm going to be dialed in there. But like I said, I'll go back and watch it, break it down. I'm excited. I love Bristol. I love being there more than watching it on TV. It's my favorite track to go to live. But first Bristol Concrete spring race in a very long time. Well, 2 or 3 years. No, 3 years, because they did it with the Gen 6 car at first time. But we're back on concrete. I think the drivers are very excited for that. I think the fans are as well. I liked having the dirt race. I think I liked it more than most people, but I like the concrete better. I think it'll be better racing in general. Maybe not a better finish, but better racing. And I'm pumped for it. Pumped to see how it races in the spring with this car. Every time they've went there with this car, it has been on concrete. It has been in September, so the weather's a little bit different. Let's see what this does. Go from there. I think as far as picking winners, and now that we're on the picking winner train here, I don't think I want to get one this year. I think it's karma for picking so many correct last year. And why I'm saying that is I picked Justin Allgaier to win the Xfinity race. And he led most of it. I'll be honest with you, didn't really watch much of it because Kentucky was playing Tennessee on Saturday. But with the parts I did watch, Allgaier was in the lead with 5 to go and pulling away, had it won. And he has a left front tire go down out of nowhere. And he spins out, self-spins, ends his day from the lead. And you just can't make that up. I hated that for him. He had such a good race. And he was my prediction to win it. So, you never see that happen with Xfinity cars. The only time I can remember that happening, well, there's a couple times. One, Kyle Larson at Pocono dominates the race. About to win again in 2021, and then his tire goes down, he slaps the fence, and Alex Bowman ends up winning. And then you've got Denny in the Brickyard 400, the only crown jewel he hasn't won, dominates the race, puts himself in a great position, and his tire goes flat with like 10 to go and ends his day. But, I can't remember the last time I've seen it with an Xfinity car just go flat like that, especially from the lead. I know the next gen cars did that a lot last year at Texas, I think it was, but the Xfinity cars are different. So that was strange, and that's when I realized there's no way I'm going to pick a winner right this season. It doesn't seem like. So when your predicted winner goes and blows a tire with 5 to go from the lead, it might not be meant to be. The trucks were off this weekend. Now they go to Bristol as well. I think I enjoy any type of car racing at Bristol. I mean, it's really good racing. But last year I was there for the truck race. Daniel Dye invited me down. I got to sit in the pit box and watch the race from above the pit box. So that was awesome. But the point is, I just had to throw that in there. I'm kind of just throwing that in there. But it was an awesome race to watch. There was a last lap pass, or not last lap. It was like 5 to 10 to go pass for the win. So it was awesome. Trucks race good there. I loved watching them in person there. So who do I pick to win? Of Corey Haim has ran well um, for the most part, and every time I pick him, something happens to him. Um, I don't know. This is a hard one to pick, to be honest with you. I'm gonna go Nicholas Sanchez for his second win of the year. I think he's been really quick this year, and I think he gets it done at Bristol. So that's my truck prediction. Wouldn't shock me if Rajah won again. I mean, he looked in Vegas. He was definitely the best truck, it seemed like, and I think that's just a start for him this year. I think he's going to get multiple wins in the Truck Series with the Spire Alliance. Him being super good anyway. He got his first career win at Vegas, and I think he will continue to build on that success as time goes on. Now for the Cup side, Xfinity doesn't race in Bristol this weekend. They are off. The next time Xfinity will be in action will be at COTA, Circuit of the Americas, in 2 weeks from yesterday. So, Cup side, I already had my mind made up before yesterday, but yesterday proved it because he was fast again yesterday. I think Ty Gibbs gets his first career win on Sunday, and it comes at Bristol. Bad news for Ty is if I pick him, I'll probably jinx him. He'll probably run very slow or be in the lead with 5 to go and blow a tire or something. But I think he gets it done. And if it's not at Bristol this weekend, he definitely wins at some point this year. I mean, he's just too quick not to. He's too good. That's going to take a lot of people off. But I see a lot of potential in Ty Gibbs. I saw it in the Xfinity Series. He did some boneheaded things. But he's a guy that is going to win and win and win in the Cup Series, and you all just got to be ready for it. I'll just tell you. That's a hard truth for some people. I don't think he's as hated as young Kyle Busch was, but when he starts winning races, I could see that happening. But I'm going to be a Ty Gibbs fan. I really like him. I mean, is it crazy to like Noah Gragson and Ty Gibbs both? Yeah, you could say yeah, but I do. I mean, I know they had a huge rivalry in the Xfinity Series, but I like both those guys. I think they're both very good at what they do. Noah's proved that so far this year. Ty's proved it at the end of last year and this year. If you all remember, I was in attendance last year at Bristol for the playoff race. Ty Gibbs, I thought he was going to win that night. Led several laps. Denny Hamlin ends up winning, of course, which was awesome. Getting to see my favorite driver win finally. But the point is, Ty Gibbs was solid, and he was fast. Once you get in the lead at Bristol with this car, I feel like it's going to be hard to get past. So I like Ty Gibbs to bring it home for his first career win and a back-to-back wins for JGR. Question of the week. I'm bringing this back. You all send in your questions, and then I'll answer them just like I did at the end of episodes last year. So here is the first one of the year, and this comes from a day one listener. This might be my favorite question that I've got, to be honest. There's a lot of good ones last year, but I really had to think in depth with this one. I mean, phenomenal question. Shout out for whoever. And if y'all want me to start announcing names, I will. You all let me know when you send in the question to me. Give me permission to say your name on the air, and I'll be glad to do that. But a awesome question. If you could have one conversation with any NASCAR driver ever, past or present, who would it be? This was hard, but I can't just pick one. I'm down to two. First one's Dale Jr. It's similar to the who would you want to meet that you haven't yet question. It was Dale Jr. when I answered that, but I did get to meet Dale Jr. With Daniel Dye in Bristol last year. That was awesome, getting to meet Dale. But didn't really get to conversate with him. So he's definitely up there. I mean, we could talk about anything NASCAR related or anything else. I think me and him could really talk a lot about iRacing. I actually raced against Dale. It was a couple weeks ago. Xfinity Series at Atlanta on iRacing. It was super fun. He was fun to race with. He was very interactive during the race, talking to people, and it was awesome to get to do that. But I would love to conversate with him. I mean, we wouldn't even have to talk about NASCAR. I think Dale's the guy that you could talk about anything, and he would be excited to do it. He'd say, "That's awesome." That's the Dale his little accent slash comments that you hear on his podcast. But I feel like he'd be a super cool guy to talk to about anything. So that's number one, and then number two. I mean, you all already know this. You all know where I'm going. I would love to have a conversation with Denny, and I definitely know that me and Denny could talk about things other than NASCAR. Although I would want to know some things about NASCAR, but sports in general. He's a sports guy. I would love to play one-on-one basketball against Denny in his home gym. I think that would be something that would be very cool. But I think we could talk about basketball, obviously the MJ connection, this podcasting. I didn't even think about that. But there's things with Denny, that me and him are similar in so many ways. I feel like from a distance. I mean, I don't know the guy, but I feel like we have a similar personality. Um, you know, and he's a dang good NASCAR driver, so I would definitely have to ask him about that. But the point is, conversation-wise, Dale Jr., Denny Hamlin are 1-2, maybe both tied for first. So thank you for that question. That was awesome. Send me more like that. Make me think. Denny was a given, but the other one was hard. I was down between Dale Jr., Dale Earnhardt, um, even guys back in the day. I I would like to talk to Kurt Busch now too. Talk to him about how life is outside of NASCAR, how it was to abruptly end like he did. You got these answers in your mind with these like talking to people that you want to know, and so Kurt Busch I'd say would probably be third, but just that's a great question, really is. So thank you for sending that one in, and y'all let me know how you enjoyed this episode. I want to attach the Q&A about the Phoenix race onto this Spotify episode, and we're celebrating going over 1K. So thank you all so much for that. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, YouTube. And, while I'm here, I want to plug something real quick just to see if it grows any at all. If any of you all are on Twitch, especially starting this week, especially on Tuesday maybe and Wednesday, if you all enjoy watching people play iRacing, simulator game, well, I wouldn't even say it's a game, it's a simulator. There's a big difference there. But I'm going to start streaming on Twitch, me racing against people online. So you all can watch that, and we might end up seeing Dale Jr. in another race. I've raced. That's how I got to know Daniel Dye, through iRacing. I've raced with Rajah Caruth, Nick Sanchez, Dale Jr. Trying to think of any other ones that I've raced against. Derek Kraus. That's just a couple that jump off at me. But several NASCAR drivers play iRacing. It's a huge, huge, awesome platform. And so go follow me on Twitch is what I'm saying, basically. Just search JD Mounts 11 and hit the follow button. And you should get notified anytime that I go live if you want to watch me race against some of the best people in the country on iRacing. So thank you all, as always, for listening. This has been JD Talks NASCAR, and I'll talk it again next week where I will recap Bristol and look forward to Coda. So thank you all so much, and this has been JD Talks NASCAR. Thank you all.